Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another episode of First Impressions, the video series where I discuss films, either films that I've been meaning to watch for a while, or ones that are still in their theatrical run. Today's is one of the former. It's a film that I've actually been meaning to watch for years. It's just one of those ones like, I'll get around to watching it another time, over and over again. And it's a film that my professor decided to show to us in class for the sound portion of our class. And of course is the 1952 musical comedy Singin' in the Rain, known of course for I'm singing in the rain, I'm singing in the rain, that song. Sung of course in the film by Gene Kelly, who co-directed the film with Stanley Donen, who of course is known for other musicals such as Seven Brides, I think it's Seven Brides for Seven Brothers? I'm just double checking. I don't want to get that right. I don't want to get that part wrong and someone go down my throat. Yep, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. And of course the original Bedazzled. I'll say from a directing standpoint, they both do a good job. They frame their shots perfectly. Now, one thing I will mention right off the beginning that I did not know, but doing a little research, I shouldn't be surprised, is that none of the songs that we hear in this film, at least the famous ones, were written specifically for the film. So it's a musical in the vein of Mamma Mia, where it takes pre-existing songs and puts it in a story around the songs. Though I have a feeling I'm going to end up enjoying this film a lot more than Mamma Mia, but it seems a lot of people don't like Mamma Mia, at least the movie version. The play version's a totally different animal. Now, in addition to Gene Kelly, the film stars Debbie Reynolds, Donald O'Connor, Gene Hagen, Millard Mitchell, Douglas Fowley, and Rita Moreno in a small role. And they all do pretty good jobs, especially our mains, which are Kelly, Reynolds, O'Connor, and to an extent Hagen. And all the singing in the film is great. I mean, if you have a musical subpar singing, that's going to kind of ruin the illusion, but when it's great singing, you get caught in it. And since I've always been a fan of musicals, the singing in the melodies brought me right into it. Now, other than the main number that the film is named after, probably my favorite number in the film, just from a vocal standpoint, would probably be Good Morning, which I did not know that came from this, or in the film that they took it from. But it was like, I know this song. My favorite musical number from a cinematography standpoint, though, would have to be The Holly. It would have to be the Broadway one. Just because of the cinematography, the set design, the costume design, all the colors they put in it, and how they did the dance numbers. Not a lot of great elaborate lyrics in the song, but the dance number compensates for it. The plot of the film is Kelly's character is Don Lockwood. He's a popular silent film star because this film takes place in the late 20s when film was starting to segue from silent to early talkies. He has humble roots, as we see at the beginning. He's kind of an unreliable narrator when it comes to talking to the media because he tells them one thing, but then we see in flashbacks going on through his head actually what happened. So it's unreliable narrator for comedy's sake. He does not get along off stage with his leading lady, Lena Lamont, who is Hagen's character, and she's delusioned about their actual relationship, which adds a little bit of comedy early in the film. At the premiere of their latest film called The Royal Rascal, Don tells the crowd, dignity, 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 always dignity. And then after he escapes from his adoring fans, he enters a car with Kathy Selden, who is Reynolds' character. There's a spark right away between them, you can tell, but there's also a little bit of a disconnect in their approaches to acting because Don, of course, is a silent film star, so he's very animated with his movements because in silent acting, your acting was your body language. As Kathy puts it, it's pantomiming. Whereas she, when she comes from the stage acting, you move a little bit, but most of your acting comes from your voice. You accentuate it with your enunciations and your pronunciations, if I can use those two words connected together. If you don't have proper diction to make your voice carry, the audience is not going to get it. I mean, they even mentioned that in one of the Spider-Man films when it comes to MJ's acting. Well, one thing leads to another. We find out that she, even though she says she's a trained actress and is, she's down on her luck and basically working for this one weird company that supplies dancing girls for parties. And Don teases her a little bit when he shows up to the party after the premiere of his movie. and she ends up getting fired because of an altercation with Lena. Don feels guilty about it. He goes looking for her. And around this time, the first silent film, at this time, the first sound film with dialogue, The Jazz Singer, premieres. Now, we don't see any footage from it. We just hear them talking about it. And every other studio is jumping on the bandwagon. So Don's newest film is going to be turned from a silent film to a talkie, which leads to a lot of fun moments with them trying to figure out how to get the sound to record properly, from putting it in a plant, like how they mentioned in that documentary that we watched a while ago. And of course, with how they're doing their staging, the audio goes in and out because of body movements. It'll be like with the actress moving, it's like she's moving like this, and when it's right here facing the microphone, it picks up good. But then when it's like, and the director character's response to this is like, oh great. And they keep trying to change it, but it keeps making problems worse, which makes things funny when they actually show the film to an audience, and you hear her dangling pearls picking up on the microphone. And of course, since they still are trying to get the staging right from silent to talkies, there's some unintentional comedy. Now, some of this will probably carry over with actual silent films with today's audiences who are not used to the silent era staging and acting. It's one of those things that they might look at and go, really? They thought this was good acting? I mean, you could say the same thing about early talkies too, but it's going to be your personal thing. I can usually, go with it. I mean, I don't really watch silent films that often. There's only a couple I've really watched. But early talkies, I just go with it depending on the film. Now, if they're really over the top, it's going to depend. Like Renfield in Dracula. He's over the top, but it works because he's a crazy character. And it adds to the charm. Other ones, if they're a little bit too over the top of what they should be, it's like, alright. This would work on stage, not so well on film. A little forgivable, but it's noticeable. And then, of course, there's like that one wooden cop in The Invisible Man. He has to sleep. You'll probably catch him if he's asleep. Too dry. The epitome of knock on wood. Now, you would think they're going to throw the film away, but they decide they're going to just change it into a musical, which goes from there. And there's a little love story between Don and Kathy, which it works, but it's like musicals where it's a little rushed and it's told through song form, which I liked. Kind of like how in West Side Story it's told through musical form. Maria, Maria, I just kissed a girl named Maria. Like that. I don't remember all the lyrics, but they were nice songs, and the staging for the musical and dance numbers was very good. Like I said, top-notch cinematography. And the acting is pretty good, too. I mean, Hagen even got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress for it. I'm going to double-check to see if she won. I know she was nominated. Where is it? Okay, she was just nominated. I'm going to check real quick, see who she lost to. I'm very interested to see who she lost to. She lost to Gloria Grahame for The Bad and the Beautiful. Moulin Rouge, Come Back Little Sheba, and With the Heart, A Song of My Heart were also nominated that year. Thelma Ritter. Bad and Beautiful, I'm checking. Nope, I am not familiar with that film off the top of my head, but I'll watch that performance and see if I think she should have won it one day down the road, but I did like her performance, and she was such annoying that you just wanted to go in there and strangle her character. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but in retrospect, it kind of seems like she was a little bit like Marilyn Monroe. Only difference is Marilyn could actually sing, and her voice wasn't as annoying as this. I'm not saying Marilyn's voice was annoying. It's just one of those voices that stands out. But in the character's way, it is annoying. Whereas Marilyn's, it was endearing. You see my point. And also, her voice is one of the little comedy moments involving the switch from silent to talkie. Just when the three people look at her like, what's the problem? Like, ooh, there's the problem. Even a diction teacher is not going to be able to fix that, which is one of the gags in the movie, by the way. Which when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I love this. Me and one of my group members for our assignments, we were loving all the stuff in here, because we both love musicals, so watching this was like a dream come true for us. And as a side note, my professor is not really a big fan of this film, which I can understand. Not everyone's a big fan of musicals. He says he thinks it's a little too cute, which I can see. I can see why. But As a fan of musicals, I expect that with most. Now, if there's a dark musical, added bonus, because as I've said before, insert that George Carlin quote about sick, evil, and you know what? Now, on the other hand, I do agree with the reason why he does show the film, and that is how it shows the segue from silent to talkies, which is very accurate with. And it's one of those things you just got to watch the film to see what I mean, because I don't want to explain every little part of it, but it does add a lot of humor to the film, which I think works. Now, another little moment I do like is the ending of the Singing in the Rain dance number, where the police officer just comes up and looks at him. You can put a lot of stuff in there, like, what do you think you're doing out this late, sir? Nothing, officer, just singing and dancing in the rain. Well, you better get home, sir. Just a famous celebrity just here singing and dancing in the rain with an umbrella. Nothing to see here. And he gives the umbrella to a random stranger. The officer just watching him like, what the hell did I just walk up on? Other little funny moments like that. And nothing really else much to talk about the film. Like I said, the acting is great. Singing and the dance choreography is great. Cinematography and the costume design is excellent. Definitely a musical that comes with my recommendation. If you are not the biggest fan of musicals, I'd say give it a watch anyway. If for anything, just for that depiction of silent to talkie transition. Because you see a lot of the hassle and headaches they had to deal with during that transition. And I have to give them applause that they managed to get through it. Now, of course, considering that they show this as everyone jumping on the bandwagon, I'm sure that a lot of the ones that were doing it just to try to play catch-up dealt with these problems just like how they do in this film. Especially if they're trying to convert a film they were filming for one thing to something that was filming for another. It kind of reminds me of the more modern one where they convert a film that wasn't meant for 3D into 3D. Only, that's not as big of an issue because you can still watch it, but you notice that, like, 3D doesn't go as well. Like when I saw Jurassic Park in 3D, only the moving shots look good, and that's because they're moving shots.